welcome everyone to the Sports Extravaganza. I'm your co-host, Tony Dean. I'm here with my man, the coach, Kelvin Lee, Special K. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good, Tony. I appreciate you, man. Again, I always have my shout out, of course, but I want to just say we took a week off. And again, it's very unfortunate, but I came down with a couple of symptoms and I was out for about 10 days. I have tested positive for COVID. So I went through the protocol, but I'm back now. So my wife took care of me. She was real good about, changing my diet. I lost a few pounds. God almighty, I don't want to go through but I think I'm going to stick with it, though. But again, my shout out for the day, I want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine. Again, he was my assistant coach for 16 years at Chaminade, and his name is Doug Taylor. He was just inducted into the Chaminade Hall of Fame for football. He was the head football coach there for over 16 years. They just put him in the Hall of Fame, and it was a great night that night. So I want to give a shout out to Doug Taylor. He's a great man and well-deserved honor for him. But we're going to turn this thing back over to Batman here, Blake. And again, we're going to introduce you. And again, I'm so glad. Again, I'm looking at Blake here, and he looks just like he did when he was playing at DeSmet. So I haven't changed a bit. But again, we have a history. We have a history. And again, we got a lot of content here, Blake. But again, I always go back to that first camp when you came to my basketball camp. I'm going to tell that story right away. I mean, you came in as a little kid. And again, talk about shooting. Oh my God, this kid can shoot the ball, man. And we had my contest during camp. I know he'd never forget. That's when I was sponsored by Nike. I used to have all this Nike, the giveaways for the kids. And this cat right here would come in and win every contest. Every shooting, free throw, jump shot, 3-point. He win every contest. And every day he walk out with an arm full of Nike stuff. I said, look at this kid, man.
There you go. I like
but
that.
Again, I want to turn it back over to you now and let you give him a professional, welcome introduction. And here we go. Let's stay roll.
You better believe it. We're going to do that. This is a native son right here we're talking to. This Met High School, Missouri State, where you made, 435 out of 460 free throws? Unbelievable. The FTM, the free throw master, is with us. Also, he went on from there, from Missouri State, to play professionally, including stints with the San Antonio Spurs, Miami Heat, now the assistant coach with the Memphis Grizzlies. I'd like to welcome to the Sports Extravaganza, Blake Ahearn. How you doing, Blake?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's great to see you today. Coach, I know you got some questions off the top. Go ahead and hit it. Let's go.
Blake, hey, before we get started, I know Coach brought up the camp and everything. The one thing I respect about Coach, he let me keep all the awards. Most of the other places I had to pick one or pick two. I couldn't take them all. Coach was the best. He gave me that big bag. I walked out. I was the happiest kid there was at Chaminade camp on that Friday, for sure. So
Blake, you didn't quite understand. I was trying to get you to come play for me. I said, I'm not going to let you keep her award. That was my recruiting ploy. I said, come on, man, I give you a kid out there. Hey, man, I'd have had a hell of a team that year. I had David Lee. If I had a Blake, when we won state championship 3 years in a row.
Oh, my goodness, man. That's high praise, man. High praise. There you go.
But Blake, here's the, we're going to build this thing up, man. I want you to tell us about your journey, starting back to your days when you first started bouncing a basketball. And I know there's always somebody instrumental in a great player's life. You know what I mean? And again, your father. I want you to talk about your father, because I had firsthand. I was a witness to all your upbringing, because I saw you in the gym. Your dad was always there. Let's talk about that from the very beginning, and we're going to build this thing up. Tell us about your journey.
Yeah, I mean, from the start, it was going with him to the Brentwood YMCA, the Webster Groves Men's League. Everything I've accomplished as a basketball player has been because of my dad, what he's shown me. And then there's been other people for sure, like Rich Grauer, Dennis Beckett, guys who've helped me, Coach Steiner along the ways. But it starts when you're a kid, right? And that was with my dad, and where I learned the lack of, not playing any defense. I could see, man, he was out there not playing defense. I guess that's how I'm supposed to play, So, just as an early age. And then a big part of it, Coach, you talked about was those camps growing up. I mean, all the places I go all over the world, I tell people about St. Louis basketball, and especially high school basketball, and how great it is in the city of St. Louis, and going to all those camps. I mean, I was going twice to Chaminade, to CBC, and DeSmet, all these camps, St. Louis U High, Rich Grauer's camp. And as a dad now, I don't know how my dad afforded it. I'm trying to figure it out now with my 3 kids, sending, to camps every single week.
All about love, Blake.
Yeah.
One thing I know, I don't think I remember charging you, Blake. I didn't charge you to come to my camps. That's how bad I wanted you to come to seminar, man.
Yeah, that may have been the case at a few other spots too, now that I remember. But yeah, just growing up and, going to those camps and going to the gym with my dad at night, trying to sneak into, Ladue High School, or just we'd drive around and whatever gym was unlocked, we'd sneak in there and shoot. And but it really started at the Brentwood YMCA, and, so very grateful for my dad and everything. And,
Yes,
I wound up choosing DeSmet High School, and had a great experience there. And I still, to this day, I've had a chance to play all over the world, play at the highest level, and the MCC on a Friday night is a special thing, even now and back then. So, some of my best memories growing up, in high school basketball. After there, Missouri State, had a great, career in Springfield, with the people down there, my teammates and all that. And, the stat that I use after Missouri State, or even including Missouri State, the game of basketball has taken me to 41 states, 19 countries on 4 different continents. So
wow.
I've had I've been very fortunate to experience a lot of great things, but I've also experienced some not so great things. And I think at the standpoint of being a coach, that's helped shape my coaching career, right? Because we learn from everywhere we've been. We learn from the greats, the great coaches I've been around, and then we learn from the ones that maybe didn't do it so well. So at the time, I thought it was unfortunate, all the different places I was as a player. But now as a coach, I'm grateful for those experiences. And it seems like, like yesterday, I was a little kid. Now I'm, a dad here coaching, I have the chance to coach some pretty good players. And, I'm enjoying tricking people to where they keep hiring me, and I get to do this for a living. So as long as they keep hiring me, I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Well, one thing before we actually get to that, what I wanted to ask you, Blake, was when you were in college at Missouri State, I know it kind of happens to everybody, even if you're a top flight player or a guy who's maybe marginal. And, when did that time come where you thought you could become a pro?
I'll be honest with you. It was one of those things. If when you asked me when I was a little kid, and I even still have the like our programs we got every year at Missouri State, and it was, what do you want to do after college? And I said, play in the NBA. Growing up, I had this dream when I was a little kid. I wanted to play in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Everybody goes, "Oh, that's great." Well, what else you want to do? I didn't know any else. That's the only thing I wanted to do was play in the NBA. Play professional basketball. So, I had a dream as a little kid. I feel like I worked my butt off, got everything out of my, my potential. But the most important part to me was I had a ton of help along the way. My dad, my coaches, Rich Grauer and Dennis Beckett were 2 guys that really taught me how to work when I was a young kid. Mm-hmm. How to put in the work, doing things with a purpose. And then as I kept getting older, I got to, reshape my game, and, I played for some really good coaches. So I always had this belief, always had this dream, to play in the NBA. And I was fortunate enough to do it, and, grateful that, I got to play for some pretty good coaches. My first 2 coaches in the NBA were Pat Riley and Greg Popovich. So, very fortunate.
That's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Blake, let's talk about it. I'm going to go back a little bit, okay? I know you played for some great coaches in your career, but I know a lot of people out there, a lot of parents, a lot of kids be interested. How much time you put in, how many shots a day you were putting up, and were you recording your shots? Were you writing it down? Talk to us a little bit about that, buddy.
It's funny you say that. I got these books right here. I can pull them out.
Wow.
Somewhere down here, I think I have.
I just met with one of my freshman kids yesterday, and I was telling him I want him to put up 1,000 shots a day. I said, I don't care where you go, but that's what I want you to do. And he agreed to do it. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So basically, this is what I learned from Rich Grauer, is like, he always asked me, like, when you go to the gym, what did you do? I'm like, well, I was, there for like 8 hours. My dad dropped me off in the morning, picked me up after work. And, he was like, well, tell me what you did. So then I learned from what he did with his son, Brian Grauer, who's a great player at Pattonville and at the University of Missouri.
Yeah, that's right.
And he talked to me about recording my shots. So when you're done every single day, you can see what you've done and, you're getting better or what do you need to work on and all that kind of stuff. So in 4th grade, I started recording every shot that I would take on my own in practice.
4th
And
grade.
then I continued that till I was 31 years old and retired. And as you can see, I got a whole bunch of books, this one, 2003, 2011, 1998. So you go back 15 years, ago, I could tell you on August 12th, how many twos, how many threes, how many free throws, my percentages, all that kind of stuff. And,
Sir.
For me, it was a confidence thing. I knew I put in the work. And to me, this is how I built my confidence. I stepped on the floor and I say, I probably didn't deserve to be there, but I thought I did. And that's just because of all the amount of work I put in. And I think that's the most important part. Today's, I say age, era, I'm not that old, but it's like everybody wants something right now. Nobody wants to work for anything. They want to come in for about 15 minutes and how come I'm not a good shooter? Well, it doesn't work like that.
That's right.
And I saw a video the other day of Chris Bosh talking about Kobe Bryant. And he said he woke up one morning, I forget where they were or why they were together. And he said he woke up super early to come down to, get a start on the day. And he said it was early. And he said he walked down to the gym and he says, there's Kobe drenched in sweat, ice bags on his knees. And he said he was done with his workout, right as I was getting up. And he said this was about 3 days after the NBA finals. So for people, everybody wants to know how can we, it's hard work. There's no other way around it. And I think the discipline and how you do it is a big part of it. And that's what all these shots were for me.
That's a great story.
That's great.
That's great. And I mean, the dedication, is unbelievable. I've never heard anything like that personally. The tapes like that, that is, man, that's book worthy in itself, man. Somebody needs to talk to you and get something going for you.
Yeah.
Autobiography of Blake Ahearn.
Yeah, I'd probably sell about 3 books. I don't know how well it would do, but maybe.
So Blake, here's the deal, man. I know we've had some battles over the years of your time when you were at this man, and I was at Chaminade, but I just want to let you know my scouting report was all based on shutting your butt down. And you probably remember this kid's name, Tommy Williams.
Oh yeah.
I used to say, Tommy Williams, you get on Blake and don't let him go.
Yep.
But that was it. We had to shut you down, man. We couldn't let you get those shots up.
Yeah, the first thing I did every night playing against Chaminade, I wanted to go up to the 2 referees, make sure they were on my side, all the hacking and holding that coach was telling his guys to do to me, be physical with them. I wanted to try to get to the line and get some easy points.
Yeah, we'll get you up in line too, because you can make free throws, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Oh yeah, speak. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
Speaking of that, I looked at his your college stats. I mean, 435 made out of 460. Truly, you're the FTM, man, the free throw master. I mean, the free throw master. That just think. How do you? I mean, when you're making free throws like that, what was your routine? Everybody's got a routine up there. What would you say your routine was as you went up there to the line? What were you concentrating on?
For me, it was pretty simple. And I tell, whether it's, kids, whatever, guys I work with, today here in Memphis is you just want to keep it simple. So for me, I took 3 dribbles, I spun the ball out, and then I found the valve, which is the center of the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of lined my shot up and shot it. I didn't do anything too crazy. I've had people ask me all the time, did you eat something special? Did you listen to something? Why'd you make all these free throws? And to be honest with you, it all stemmed from, I wanted to play at the end of the game. When the game's on the line, I want to be in there at the end of the game, and to win games. So
win the game. Yeah.
We all know how important, making free throws is. And, like I joked before, I wasn't in there to stop anybody on the other end, but I could at least help out down on the offensive end. So that's just something for me. I always wanted to be in at the end of the game. And, as a point guard, as a guy that, had the ball in his hands a lot, I felt like, your coach should trust you with the ball in your hands, to make decisions, to make free throws, to make plays, all that kind of stuff. So it's just something where I got to the line, I got into a rhythm in college, and it kind of extended, throughout my whole career. So I was fortunate enough to make a few and, establish
Yeah,
a few
man.
records here and there.
Yeah, I heard a story about when you were at the Miami Heat. There's a coach by the name of Bob McAdoo.
Oh yeah.
Bob McAdoo, he challenged you. He always challenged you to make 10 in a row, but you had to switch them or something like that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a great story. Frank Cusimano, I probably tell that story every other time I'm on with him because he loves it so much. But it was one of those things where it was one of my first days in Miami as a player, and Coach McAdoo's walking in. I'm sitting in my locker, and he's dropping off like these notes in people's lockers. And I was like, and I asked, I remember Dwayne Wade was next to me. And I only say that because it just helps the story. It makes the story look better. Dwayne Wade, instead of just somebody. And I asked him, I said, what's he doing? He says, oh, those are IOUs. I'm like, IOUs for what? He says, oh, he plays these guys in a free throw game, and he takes all their money. I said, really? I was like, anybody can play him, or how's that work? He goes, yeah. He goes, but I'd be careful. Nobody knows who I am. They think I'm a ball boy or something that snuck into the locker room. They don't know who, I'm even a player. So I went up to him and I asked him, I said, hey, can we play this free throw game? He was like, yeah, sure. He thought it was going to be easy money taken, from this young kid just getting into, the NBA. Right. So what the game was just called nets, and it was the first one to 10 swishes. Oh, so if you swished one, it was 1. If you just made it and hit the rim, it was nothing. And if you missed, it was -1, first one to 10. Well, kind of long story short, I beat him 3 times in a row. Wow. And he really couldn't figure it out. And the next day he came in and he says, hey, I looked you up. He's like, you tricked me, or you duped me, all that. He was like, the fast one on me. So I wound up beating him, I think about 5 times until this day. I'm still waiting to collect my money. So anytime I see him in passing, I tell him I'm still waiting to collect my money. I should drop him an IOU.
Cool, man.
That is fantastic.
Right. I'm going to piggyback. I'm having a little fun with you, Blake. I love this. This is great stuff, man. I'm going to piggyback to your defensive playing days. You had a big heart. You get down the stance. You know how to get in the stance, and you will work hard. But I got another good one of my former players came back home. He was playing for the Knicks at the time by the name of David Lee. Sure. And David came home and told me when you were Heat, y'all were warming up. And he said he looked down there and saw you really like you were pretending to play some defense. What did David Lee say to you? Did he say anything to you that before the game, or?
Yeah, the one thing I think, I remember seeing David for the first time. Actually, I think Chris Sloan, another St. Louis guy, was there at the time as well. Yeah. So I wound up, obviously it was great to be in the NBA at that time. It was like my 3rd or 4th game, and then a chance to play against, David. I think I told him, hey, just keep hacking me like you did in high school, and maybe I'll get a couple free throws and score some points. But I do remember him telling his teammates, hey, don't foul him, don't touch him, all that kind of stuff. But that was probably, there were 2 places. My first road trip, I played at Madison Square Garden and at the Boston Garden. Wow. And growing up, my team was the Celtics. My dad coached. So to have those 2 experiences, like in my first 2 or 3 games in the NBA, was surreal. And then to tie it in with the St. Louis connection was even better, with David there. And David got a few more minutes that game than I did, but it was
just a smidge, right?
It was a good opportunity for me. And I'm from St. Louis. I'm born and raised. It's the most important thing. All my family's there. So anytime something like that can have a little St. Louis connection for me is great.
Great, man.
Fantastic.
Great. Well, here's the deal, man. Just moving forward a little bit. You've talked about playing. You're in high school. You played for a great coach, Bob Steiner. Yeah. You played for a great. Who's your college coach at Missouri State, in Southwest Missouri?
Barry Henson.
Barry Henson, yeah, good guy, great coach. You got some good ties with him. Bill Self and all those guys got a good connection. But I want you to talk to us a little bit about your experiences with Popovich. He's one of my favorites, man. I love watching his teams play. They move that ball side to side. Talk to me a lot about your experience. Was he a challenging coach? Did he challenge you, and was he hard? Talk to us a little bit about Pop.
Yeah, first and foremost, everybody talks about Pop from the X's and O's and like what he's done on the court, but I can't speak to you guys enough about who he is off the court,
Yeah.
the type of person he is and all that. And everything like that I base my coaching philosophy off of is very similar to kind of who he is as a person. And that's, people don't care what you know until they know how much you care. Because when they know you really care about them as a person, they'll play harder for you, they'll work hard, all that kind of stuff. Because we all know, everybody, there's more important things in the game than putting the ball in the basket, playing defense, figuring out a pick and roll, like in life and all that. And you get older, you start to, understand that. When I was a kid, I was like, heck, there's nothing more important than this game of basketball. That's all there was, right?
Right.
But having a chance to play for him, that was the most important thing that I saw. And I'll share something with you afterwards, after this about that. But, as a coach, the respect he commanded, one of my first uh, film sessions in the locker room, I heard him call Tim Duncan about every 4-letter word in the book.
Oh, wow.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm in the front row, trying to be, and I'm thinking, oh my, like, what's going to happen? Like, what's he going to do? And I just remember kind of like peeking around. Timmy was sitting in the back and all he said was, yes, sir.
Wow.
And it was the most unbelievable thing. And how he coached guys, the respect he commanded. He treated everybody, I say, the same. Everybody got kind of different leeway. Timmy had a little bit more leeway than I did when I was on the court, but he held everybody accountable.
That's right.
And,
that's the key.
The experiences that I had with him, he wound up bringing me back to coach the Austin Spurs for 3 years, kind of getting my professional coaching career started. So I'm extremely grateful for him. And the story I have was when I was released there in San Antonio, I went back to the D League, finished the year there. But when I got back, I had a check in the mail back at my house. And I remember the day I got released, and they wound up leaving me on the payroll for another week after I was released. So it's like little things like that. Nobody knows, nobody, would ever know that he did that for me. But that's the person he is, and I didn't win him any championships. Those banners aren't up there because of me or anything like that. But it just goes to show you who he is as a person. And, no doubt I've taken a lot from him, both on and off the court, into my coaching career.
Great. Now, a lot of people don't realize you coached high school ball here in St. Louis too. Again, you came back, you were at Clayton. And I'll never forget, we were down at a league down at St. Louis University. And it was your first day, and you got kicked out of the damn game the first day. You said something to the referee and got kicked out of the game. And then you went on to DeSmet. You're the head coach of DeSmet as well, before you went, with Popovich. But again, talk to us a little bit about your high school experiences as a coach.
Yeah, Coach, it was the absolute best thing I could have done.
Yeah.
And the agent that I use now, I wasn't working with him at the time, but he was just a personal friend of mine. And I said, hey, I'm getting ready to retire. I've got 3 daughters born in, 3.5 years. I didn't want to travel anymore. I was like, so I'm just going to take, a year or 2 off. And I said, I had this opportunity to coach high school basketball. What do you think? And he gave me some great advice. He said, any chance you can be a head coach at any level. He said, I don't care if it's 4th grade basketball. He goes, it's invaluable experience. And from coaching at Clayton and my 1 year at DeSmet, I can't tell you how great it was for me. One, make mistakes, figure out, what my identity was, what I liked. I had all these places I played. I played 9,000 different places, and I'm making notes from all these different coaches, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. And looking back now, I'm thinking, God, what the heck was I thinking? Why did I do that? All that kind of stuff. But from Clayton, working for Bob Bone, who's the athletic director, and then going back to my alma mater at DeSmet. I'll be honest with you. When I got back to DeSmet, I thought I wanted to be there for the next 30 years.
Exactly.
And that's what I thought. And, that the whole Spurs thing popped up where I couldn't say no to that. But those 2 years of high school basketball were unbelievable for me.
Great, man.
Great. Well, also going back for a second, I know we went back to high school and everything, and we talked about Coach Popovich. I actually want to ask you also, besides Coach Popovich, what was your experience like with Pat Riley and the Miami Heat?
There you go.
What was that about?
Yeah. I mean, before I got called up a week before, eating at the Golden Corral in Bismarck, North Dakota. So you talk about a culture shock. Go from there, all of a sudden I'm down in South Beach and I'm literally, just staring at Pat Riley. I mean, because growing up, like I said, my team was the Celtics. My dad coached, so the whole Larry Bird, versus the Lakers, that whole deal. And I was, be honest with you, my first time there, I was in awe a lot. I mean, I'm just sitting there listening. Great storyteller, right? I mean, he was an unbelievable motivator for people that know NBA basketball. So for me to just sit there and soak that up, probably the best dressed coach that I've had by far. There's no doubt about that. But the one story I did ask him, like I said, I was a big Larry Bird fan. And I remember asking him, it was actually when we played New York. So it was in New York that, when I played against David. And I went up to him and I said, "Hey, coach," I said, what was Bird like? I said, I was actually born, I forget on which game, it was like game 3 or game 4 in 1984. And it was crazy. He knew the score. He knew what happened that game. He knew all this stuff. And he said, if I could sum up Larry Bird was this, he said, I wanted to get a mental edge over Larry because everybody knew the mind games and like the trash talking. And Larry was just that guy. And he said, I got to the gym. It was like 2 or 3 in the afternoon for a 7 o'clock game because I wanted to beat him to the Boston Garden. And he said, I got over there early. It was just me. And he said, I walk into the gym and he says, there he is running the stadium, running the stairs. And he said, he's just drenched in sweat.
Wow.
He goes, it's 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And he says, I'll never forget. He made eye contact with me. And he said, I knew we had no chance. So it was great just playing for him and hearing all his stories and how he coached Magic and Kareem and all these guys. I mean, it's, my first time, I can't tell you how grateful I was to have that experience. And I got all his scouting reports here and all the stuff I have from him. So like I said, I've kept everything in all these places to kind of
good to look back on.
Help mold me into who I want to be as a coach.
Well, I'm glad you said that. We got some great, again, we got friends in the NBA, and I got a lot of guys, John Hammond with Orlando Magic, but John would always tell me a story about Larry Bird. He was with Larry Brown with the Clippers as an assistant coach, and they played, I forget where they were. It might have been, played Boston, and they got to the hotel, and Larry Brown told the team to check in and come on back down. We're going to the arena early. We're going to the Boston Garden. I want you guys to see this. And then they walk in, the team walk in, and as soon as they walk in the Boston Garden, they hear a ball bouncing. And this is like 7 or 8 hours before game for tip-off. There's Larry Bird out there, man. He wanted his players to see that, especially his young kids, you know what I mean, to experience that. You're right about Larry Bird. He's one of the hardest workers and competitors you ever want to meet.
I always heard stories about Larry Bird. Basically, it was about basketball and sleeping. I mean, he slept, and then he got up and he played basketball.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, that's tremendous. But you know what? We'd be remiss if we didn't get to we got to get to the Grizzlies.
I see that. Now, we're going to get to the Grizzlies, but again, go ahead. I'm going to let you go ahead. Take over. Go ahead. Get to the Grizzlies.
Okay. Coach has got something.
I got something coming up. I got to hit him again.
But we got to talk about the Grizzlies a little bit. How did it come about, you becoming an assistant coach for the Memphis Grizzlies? How did the job come about for you, Blake?
Yeah, it's a funny story. And this is, I tell whether it's kids, players I've coached about, you're not always going to have great experiences everywhere you go, but you want to make sure that you always, kind of leave on good terms, make sure relationships, how important those relationships are. And you never know when they can come back and help you, hurt you, or anything like that. So this is how small of a world it is. When I was in San Antonio, I got assigned down at the time to D League to play in some games because they had some guys up there who were fully healthy and I wasn't getting a lot of time. So when I got assigned, Quinn Snyder was the head coach of the team, and the assistant coach was Taylor Jenkins, who's now the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
So, he got his start in San Antonio. I got to kind of know him there, my time there. And then about 12 years later, I have the opportunity to interview with him for the head coaching job, So here's something that, probably 12 years prior, shaped a little bit of, his impression of me and whatever. So like I said, I was good at tricking people then. I'm still good at tricking people now. So I was able to get hired right before the bubble last year, which was an awesome experience. Go down to be a part of the bubble and and all that. And then my first full season just finishing, and now getting ready to start, my second and a half, I guess you could say. So,
Yeah, it's great.
Well, Blake, it's not what you know, it's who you know these days,
no
right?
doubt.
Yes, sir.
No doubt.
A combination of both is the best thing. That's
Well,
great.
here's the deal, man. I'm looking again. I can't keep looking at that little sign behind you, man. There. And I know Tony wants to talk to you about this as well. But I love that sign. We interrupt this marriage to bring you basketball season.
I like that
All right,
too.
and I'm gonna let Tony take over that because he's gonna ask you about your wife and everything about how you balance things out. All right, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, that's what it's about. We talked about that earlier. I mean, you've been to a lot of places, as a professional, and the patience and it's not just about the player having that patience and that fortitude, but what about the family having that same thing? What has your wife meant to you in all this journey?
Yeah, I was raised, family's the most important thing. That's the way my parents raised me, and my wife. I can't tell you enough about what she's meant. I mean, we had an instance where we lived in Kiev, Ukraine, and we lived through a civil war. There were over 130 people murdered right outside our back window in a full-blown war. I was traveling in different countries. She was there with our two kids. We only had two at the time. So she's been through it all with me. I mean, just absolutely everything. And any coach knows you can't be successful unless you got support back home, right? Everybody says, man, you got a tough, life, all this, or a tough job, traveling, all that. I'm like, no, my wife's the one. She's going to 2 different soccer practices, all this, all while, giving me full support. And she's always said, hey, wherever you go, we'll be there and we'll support you. So I wouldn't have gotten this far, in basketball if it wasn't for her. And we actually started dating in high school. And I sit here in this chair in front of you guys, in front of everybody who's going to see this, and feel very comfortable letting everybody know she averaged more points at Webster Groves High School than I did at DeSmet. So it's one of those things that she understands the game of basketball. She knows what we go through as coaches and as players and all that. So I'm grateful for her and what she's done for me, my 3 daughters, and we're just both happy now. We're a little bit closer to home to get to see some family.
That's fantastic.
Well, Blake, you didn't go get you one of those private school girls. You went to public school route, huh? She was a little tough on you.
Yeah. Fortunately, we my parents were friends with her parents, kind of through the great Lou Potts, who passed away a few years ago. So that's kind of, we actually met for the first time in 7th grade, started dating in high school. So yeah, it's our journey together has been great, and she's been supportive 100% of the time. So like I said, couldn't have been here without her.
We use that word balance, man. How do you balance it out? What do you do to balance your time away from your family? What do? You have movie nights, or do you take them? What do you do?
The biggest thing, that's the one thing I've really gotten to learn is the balance part. Because when I was playing, it was all basketball. I was like, what can I do to get better at this? And being a coach and now a family, there's more. My family's more important than basketball, right? So the one thing I got my girls in is they love sports, but they all play golf. And I got a brother who plays college golf at UMSL, who's a pleasant surprise to our family, to say the least. And my dad always jokes. He said, "You were the guinea pig. I screwed up, put you in basketball, and got smart, put my brother in golf." So when we come back, and I have some time here, I always take him to the range. We play golf and just be outside. And really anytime I can be around my girls and in the sports world, because I love it and they love it. Soccer, basketball, all that kind of stuff. We're out in the backyard. We all do it together as a family.
Spending time, making memories, man.
Yeah,
That's what it's
for
about.
sure.
It's beautiful.
No doubt.
And speaking of making memories, I mean, you being an assistant coach with the Grizzlies, I mean, they're trying to make some new memories there and make some things happen with Ja Morant and their team. But let me ask you real quick, how do you feel about the couple of guys who exited? I mean, Valanciunas, Grayson Allen. What are you guys losing with them not being with the Grizzlies now, for example?
Yeah, that's tough. And that's kind of, the business side of the NBA. And growing up, my favorite team was the Phoenix Suns. And I remember when, like Sean Marion left and other guys, I'm like, well, why are they leaving? They had such a good team. And there's, so many other things that go into, why guys stay with teams, get traded, leave teams. But Jonas and Grayson were a very big part of what we did, last year. I think Jonas had his career year, and Grayson, everybody asked me about Grayson Allen, right? Because they've seen some things at Duke and everything like that.
Right.
Well, what's he like? Outside of John Moran, it's what was Grayson Allen like? And I'll tell you, he couldn't be a nicer guy. If my daughter had to marry somebody, it would be somebody just like him.
Yeah.
I mean, great kid, works hard, great player. So we're gonna miss those two guys for sure. But we got a guy in Steven Adams who's played in some high meaningful games in Oklahoma City with, Durant and Westbrook, kind of in that era. Had a good draft pick in Zaire Williams. So we're the youngest team in the NBA. It's kind of like a college team in a way. We got, certain young guys out there. They're 21, 22, 19 years old. So at the end of the day, we look good because we got good players. So we're gonna keep coaching them and trying to teach them, and hopefully, continue this on ramp up in the right direction.
Well, it's unfortunate that Grayson Allen got a reputation at Duke. I mean, he gets
Yeah.
it's very unfortunate. It doesn't make him a bad person. He just got caught up in a situation, putting his foot out, stuff like that. But he's a good kid. I read up on him. He's a good kid. Set a few records at Duke. Hard worker. But it's unfortunate. But I'm gonna ask you about it again. It's a different world we live in, Blake. A different world. This COVID situation and the situation in the NBA. Kyrie Irving and several other guys who are Wiggins. How do you feel about our situation we're in with COVID and how it affects the NBA?
Yeah, it's difficult because, you look at, I think, California and New York, if you're not vaccinated, you can't play in home games, right? So
Right.
There's a lot of that going on. Are they going to play? Are they, now are they going to be paid? All this kind of stuff. And I want to say the most recent poll, I think we got like 95% of the leagues vaccinated now. So there's, a lot getting to that point. And at the end of the day, I know everybody's got their own personal decision, their own choice on what they want to do. And they got to weigh the pros and cons. But, for the most part, from my experience, I got vaccinated because, I want to protect people. I just want to help keep, from spreading and kind of do my part. And, I've had family, who have got it. And luckily nothing's happened, but anything that I can do on my part, whether it's vaccination or, social justice, different things like that, whatever I can do to help, create more, word of mouth, just things like that. I'm gonna do my part and, try to help our league. And, I think that's where most people are and, with their mindset as well.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Good deal, man.
Well, the other thing we have to do while we're sitting here is we have to ask you and put you on the spot as far as the Grizzlies, their season. I mean, it's a young team. Last time, they were able to at least get into the play-in tournament. What do you see for the Grizzlies this year? Do you see a step up, or is it just kind of which way are we going here?
No, put me on the hot seat here.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think we're in the developmental stage. Like I said, we were the second youngest and youngest team last year, back and forth throughout the season, and we got even younger this year. So we got certain guys who are making strides, and some other guys who want to try to help bring along. We won our first the playing games last year, and then made it to the first round against the Jazz, and I think that was great for us because we got to see what a true high-level team looks like competing for a championship. So, I don't think there's anything where we want to be like, oh, we went to the first round, now we got to be in the second round or anything like that. We're still in that developmental phase, and as simple as it is, we're just trying to get better every day. Our guys are so young, and we're trying to, help them along and learning how to be professionals still. So, at the end of the day, I'll say this: Coach Jenkins does a really good job. Our guys play extremely hard, and they're unselfish. And as coaches know, when you have that recipe, especially in the NBA, you got a chance to win night in and night out. And, like I said, hopefully a few nights we just score one more point than the other team and, and get out with some wins. And we'll see where it happens, but I'm excited for the future of where we're headed.
Oh yeah.
You're right. That goes for at every level. You know, I just met with a freshman yesterday, and we getting ready to participate in the fall league. You know, you remember those fall leagues,
Oh, I
Blake?
loved it. That was the best. I
We're
love
getting ready.
fall.
We start Sunday, so I'm
Yeah,
prepping my freshman for what's ahead of him. And I
right.
just told him, I said, hey man, the main thing I want you to play hard. And
Yeah,
then we're going to share the ball. You know what I mean? And that's the main thing. I'm not putting any offenses in, no plays, and nothing. Just say make a play for you or your teammate, but play hard. Because if I'm sitting up in the stands and we can't coach, if I see you not playing hard, I'm coming down out of those stands and I'm gonna lay into y'all butt. You know what I mean?
right.
So again, you hit on two key things: playing hard and sharing the ball. Those are
Yeah.
important.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
absolutely. The easy recipe. I mean, you can control those things for sure.
Yes, sir.
And that's what's up.
Yes,
That's what's
sir.
up. Controlling those things. And speaking of that, everybody expects a step up or a jump up from Ja Morant. But who are a few of the other guys that you expect to take a jump maybe with him this year that could make a big difference for the Grizzlies, coach?
You know, we had a rookie last year by a guy named Desmond Bain out of TCU, who was actually
Right.
second team. I think he was second team all rookie
You're
last year.
correct. You're correct.
Uh, but he's a guy that's put in a lot of work this offseason, and as good of a first year as he's had, I think he's going to have even better year this year. Great kid, works extremely hard. Um, and he's the type of guy we got to tell, like, hey, you can't come to the gym today. You know, you need some rest. You need to take care of your body. And he's always wanting to be in the gym. He always wants to work. And like we've talked about before, that's recipe for success, right? You got some talent, you want to work at it. So I'm excited for him. And Jaren Jackson out of Michigan State, he's had some injury issues, fully healthy right now. So I think we're looking forward to kind of seeing him a full year of health, you know, and in shape. So we got some, like I said, some young guys. As long as, you know, guys like me don't get in their way and, you know, screw them up, we may have a chance of, you know, hopefully doing something. So, like I said, I'm excited for our group, and I'm excited just to be a part of it.
Hey, Blake, talk to us about your typical day in the NBA. I know I've been to the training camps back in the day we were allowed to go to training camps. Now we can't because of COVID. But
Right.
again, I used to go see John Hammond when he was Detroit, Milwaukee, now Orlando. But again, typical day for him, he get up again, it's all day, you know, all day with him. You know, he
Yep.
was a GM. He learned from Larry Brown. He said he was always the first one there and the last one to leave. But
Sure.
Starbucks, you know, he always go by Starbucks and get his chai tea. You know what I mean? Got to get that non-fat chai tea, and he got me on it now. But
Right,
again, talk to us about your typical day in the NBA.
So like me personally, what I do,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm an early riser. I get up super early. I get up at 5, and I kind of learned that, you know, having young kids, I learned, especially in the pandemic too, is like, if I want to get my work in, I got to get up before they get up to get, you know, the stuff that I need done. So first I get up and I work out. I always want to, you know, maintain that sense of work because I was used to it for so long, right? Going to a gym, getting that physical, you know, work in. So I do that. And then I've become a big reader. When I won my first game in Austin, my GM gave me a book called Leaders Eat Last. And I read it. And to this day, my mom's no longer here. She passed away, but she would not believe. I think in the past 4.5 years, I'm up to 82 books on leadership, different things like that, how companies, how great people do things. And it's just, I just want to learn. I want to learn how great people do great things. And so I always do that. I work out, I read, and then by that time I got my kids. I'll either drop them off at school, go to the gym, and then depending on what day it is, we either got practice, we either got shoot arounds. Then the tough part gets when you travel, right? Because you're different cities, different times. Sometimes you're in at 3 a.m. So, you know, the one thing you got to be adaptable to is change. So you got to make sure. That's why I know I can always get up early and do what I need to do to keep that part consistent. Because when you get there, who knows what type of mood coach is going to be in. We may not do this. We may not do that. I may not have time to do other things. So for me, it's just making sure I still get in my work personally to develop and grow. And then that way I can help my young guys. But, you know, that's basically what I do. Get up early and, you know, just try to get my work in like I did when I was a kid.
Do you guys incorporate staff meetings?
Oh yeah. So we meet every morning as a staff.
Yeah.
We watch film as a staff. Then we have like our own individual groups, where we meet with our players. Taylor, our head coach, Taylor Jenkins, is big on the player development side. And I think a lot of us here have had some ties with San Antonio, and that's where we all are kind of cut from that same cloth. The player development and the individual work of our guys is so huge. That's what we spend a lot of our time on. And then, we watch the film, and, that's why I lose hair. One of my scouts is Golden State, trying to figure out how to guard Steph Curry and, all these different guys. So we got your typical game planning and all that. And we kind of keep it pretty simple and, pretty straightforward. So I'm learning a ton. I'm grateful to be in these meetings with some other really good coaches. And, maybe one day I'll get my shot again and be able to lead these meetings myself.
You'll get it. You'll get it. You'll get that chance. I know you will. Blake, I tell you, it's all about relationships with us, man.
That's right.
I've always had that relationship with you, your dad, your family, you're great people. But again, it's all about, we'll go back to that routine again. You know what I mean? That morning. That's why I asked you that. Because I'm one of those early risers. I've always been an early riser. As a little kid, my mom never had to get me out of bed. 4 o'clock in the morning, I get up now and I go work out, get it all in. Because she said, that's my time. My quiet time. I get to my office early and I read. I do my reading, and I know you still get my texts.
I read them every morning. I get
my texts in the morning, Blake. All right. I make sure I send my devotionals out every day to my family, my friends, co-workers, players, everybody. But that's part of the routine, man. You just keep doing what you're doing, and that's success. Again, that's your recipe for success. You're gonna be fine. Appreciate you, Blake. You're my man. You're my guy, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you guys having me. I don't know what I did to deserve to be on with you guys, but Coach, like you said it, the relationships are the biggest part. And even though I didn't go to Chaminade, you played a part in my development and growing up as, you guys hacking and following me all the time, gave me repetitions at the free throw line.
Hold it. We weren't hacking, man. What are you talking about? We were playing great defense, Blake. Come on, man. Look at him.
But I appreciate you guys having me on, and grateful for the opportunity to talk with you guys this morning.
Hey, you're talking about the referees, Blake. I knew the referees more than you know about. Come on, man. I would get in there here too. I'm not gonna let that kid beat me tonight. Come on, man.
Hey, I'm gonna help you out before he really goes off into this. Now we're at the end of the show. Blake Ahearn, assistant coach, Memphis Grizzlies. Thanks so much for joining the Sports Extravaganza, and thanks to everybody else for watching. Have a great day.
One more thing, Blake. I'm not done. We got about 2 or 3 more minutes. You make sure you tell your dad I said hello, man. I try to stay in touch with him. But back in the day, we always used to meet at Applebee's, man. You remember those days? I used to ask your dad, him and Lou Pastor, I said, do you guys have jobs? You guys work? Because they meet there and they stay there all dang day, man. I'm like, what do you guys do? You know what I mean? So again, I used to love meeting those guys. We sit there and talk basketball. It was all about basketball and life. Any topic that came up, your dad and Lou Pastor, they all knew. You know what I mean? Ron Golden, Earl Austin. Those were great days, man. Meeting with those guys, man.
It was the best. And my dad would bring me up there as a kid. I used to love it. Till this day, my best memories are tagging along with my dad going up there. And I'll tell you what, being an NBA player or doing what those guys did every single day was like right there. It was right next to him. That's what I wanted to do.
Exactly. Sure. Well, Blake, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on, man, and continued success to you. Again, we'll be following. Now I know where you are. You're in Memphis. Hey, man, when I give you a call, when Jason Tatum or Bradley Beal or one of those guys come in town, I want to come up there and watch a game.
Absolutely. Let me know.
I want front row seats too. Don't be putting me way up in the cheap seats. I want to be yelling like saying, great seats, huh? I want to be down low, man. Come on, take care of the old man.
Well, that's only fair. You slip one in at the end, he slipped one in.
All right, Blake. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks.
All right, guys.
Have a great day.